Hello besties, my name is Dylan the Bridge and welcome to my channel. Today I have an older time lapse of a drawing of Parsley from Smile for Me. I love him so much, he's just a silly little guy, a silly little lawyer, just like who we're going to be talking about today, Daredevil himself. So the Daredevil comic we're talking about today is Daredevil number 287, The Fighter, that was published in October 2nd, 1990. And is by my favorite comic book writer, Ann Nosetti. I love her so much. Her era of Daredevil is iconic, and you should pick up her work. For this video, I didn't want to just talk about this comic, but also how fun it can be to just pick up a random comic and try to piece things together as you go along. Because, like, when I first got this comic, I didn't have anything close to it. I'm still building up to it and shit. But it's fun time. So when I saw this, the cover is of him standing in like the boxing ring, and he has like a red blindfold on, some shorts, of course, boxing gloves. But instead of like the usual, like, here comes Daredevil, the man without fear, it says, and in this corner, Daredevil. So I needed it in my life, obviously. And now, with spoilers ahead, let's get talking about it. The comic starts with what looks like Daredevil breaking into a bank, like by crashing through a window. And the police are all confused because, like, they didn't know they were gonna be getting robbed. It's like, but it's great that Daredevil's here to stop it. But turns out, Daredevil was the one robbing the bank. Because actually, Daredevil is Bullseye. There's some whole shit about that, but we'll get more into that later. So he's swinging through the city and dropping money to people, and he goes to Karen Page. And he's like, I got you a present, and it's a shit ton of money. And she's really confused on like how he got that much money. And he calls himself New York's new Robin Hood. And he tries to get really close to her, but she doesn't want him, like, to do that with the mask on. So she's like, can you at least take that off? And he obviously can't because he's not actually Daredevil. He's being all delulu and he's calling himself a hero, calling himself Daredevil. We're gonna be hopping locations a lot in this. So now we're gonna jump over to the Daily Bugle, and we're shown a newspaper that says Daredevil turns thief. J. Jonah Jameson doesn't question it because, he really hates superheroes. But Ben Urich, who is also in the room, doesn't believe this to be true. He mentions that Daredevil's been known for protecting the streets, doing so for years, so why would he all of a sudden change? It didn't make sense to him, and he wanted to find out what was actually going on and planned to make an editorial piece to get back the good word on his name. We're then going to hop over to Fogwell's gym where a boxing match is about to take place. And there's a familiar boxer around. He's wearing the red boxing shorts on the cover, but the blindfold is blue in the comic. But he's not going by Matt Murdock. He is instead going by Jack Murdock, his dead dad's name. All because he lost his memory after coming back from hell. That's a storyline I will have to tell y'all about, because I do have some of those comics. I still need to get some more. But yeah. So that's why Bullseye is going by Daredevil, because there's currently no one going by Daredevil right now. So he's like, oh, I can take this opportunity. But he still has his muscle memory, like all his different fighting styles, so that mixes in his boxing. And there's someone interesting in the crowd, Kingpin, who recognizes those fighting styles from, all of their times that he's fought Daredevil. And, Matt Murdock wins the fight. And we get to see into Kingpin's thoughts a bit. And he wants Matt to face him, and he just happens to do so. And the Kingpin in his thoughts say that he's on to Matt. Also, by the way, I will be referring to Bullseye this entire time as Daredevil, and Matt Murdock as, Matt Murdock, despite the fact that he is going by Jack right now. But I'll try to, not have it be so confusing. And Matt does have a girlfriend. Her name's Nyla, and she comes up to him and asks him what's wrong because he looks distracted. And he mentions that he has some sort of like deja vu of like a memory from his past life, all thanks to Kingpin. But he's like, oh well, that's fine. My amnesia is so strong, so I guess we'll never know what that's about. And he just wants to go home and take a nap because he's like eepy little guy. But also because when he dreams, he can piece together pieces of his life. But Nala hates how much he spends sleeping because she's worried when he finds out who he was, he'll leave her forever. We're back at the Daily Bugle with a reporter talking to Karen. She mentions that he's been calling himself Robin Hood, a thief that redistributes the wealth, but he's also been violent and isn't much of a man. The reporter then tells J. Jonah Jameson that they have a new headline about Daredevil. We also see a newspaper about a black judge being murdered from like a previous issue or so. We're then thrown into Matt's dream where he's kicking a wall, but he's unable to break it. It's then that he notices another person is in his dream, and surprise, surprise, it's Elektra. The two talk before Stick stops the two of them to get their attention. He calls them angry idiots. He tells the two of them to hit the wall with kindness, but they don't understand and call it a paradox, and Stick says it's true because it is one. They must be a humane fighter, don't fight from rage, but compassion. He tells them to break the wall, but instead of doing so, they fight each other. He wakes up on the floor of his current place, but Nala is gone, and he deems that she's just jealous of his dreams. We then see a character named Marcus, who is the son of the judge that died. He's in a room with another guy, and I think his name is Frankie. It's hard to tell, because they don't name him in this comic, and there's another dude named Nick, but like on the fandom page, neither of them are linked, so I'm just guessing here. But I'll just refer to him as Frankie. In my notes, I referred to him as the other guy, but I don't want to do that for y'all. Marcus tells Frankie that they want the two of them to fight, how they want the different races to hate each other. And Frankie asks who this they is, but Marcus doesn't have much of an answer. He just guesses is the rich and powerful. And Marcus wants Frankie to be on his side and not the rich, and to do so, he has to tell him who killed his dad. We hop on over to Ben, who's reaching out to Foggy. He finds him at the law library, mentioning that he's working on a case about Matt. Foggy tells him how his life got ruined, losing everything in his life. And that happened in the Frank Miller run, which I'll talk about one day. I actually, when I went to Seattle, I got a big old book about, like, with Frank Miller shit. But Foggy has been dying to figure out who was behind it all, and now all Foggy has to do is figure out where Matt is. And Ben says he may have an idea. We're then at an abandoned building with someone who looks like Frankie, but I'm pretty sure it's Nick. But either way, he's on edge, and our blind boxer, Matt Murdock, ends up attacking him and mentions that he fights with kindness. He hangs up the guy on a lamppost with some signs with, like, the murder weapon and one that calls him a judge killer, which, in the morning time gathers a crowd. And then we're back at Blackwell's gym. Before another match starts, there's lots of talks about the blind boxer and Daredevil. Nala thinks that Daredevil is this grand hero for taking from the rich and giving it to poor people. But even without his memories, Matt is unsure of this and calls Daredevil a show-off. He then heads off into a ring, but Nala tells him to look out in the crowd for her after he wins, saying she'll be wearing a red scarf. He calls her silly though and reminds her that he has bad eyes, that he can't see color and can barely tell if something is light or dark. He gives her a kiss before he hops in the match. She then realizes that he doesn't know that she's a black woman. We then get one last newspaper for the comic. The headline talks about Daredevil being the new Robin Hood, but on the back pages, there's a piece written by Ben. And I'm just going to quote it for y'all. It's easy to love someone when they're on top, and just as easy to knock down a hero. Daredevil has been New York's protector for many years, and this city should stand by him. Can't we have faith that even he appears to have turned thief is for some heroic reason? It ends with Daredevil going around the city confused and upset that everyone was calling him a hero. He wanted them all to be upset with him and to tarnish Daredevil's name forever, but yet he still ends up on top. And that was the comic. One of the reasons why I love Anna Study's writing so much, especially like her work on Daredevil, is the political messages are right in front of your face and you can't ignore them. They're not only the main story, but also the side plots. And I think it's interesting to see what was going on back then. It's this was before I was born, and to see some of the same shit still happening to this day. But anyways, sometimes people wonder what's the best way to get into comics, and you could go and pick up the new run, or you can go over to the bins and start digging through the 50-cent comics, the dollar ones, or usually they have the organized ones with the different characters. Go in there and just pick up a cool cover. That's how I got into Daredevil. My dad at the time had just moved, and he took me to a comic shop up there, and I asked him if he could get me a comic, and I picked up a Daredevil one. It was part of the Marvel Knights era, and that I already owned some comics, but this really kickstarted my love for comics. And sadly, that comic shop is closed down now, but I still have the very first comic shop I ever went to, and I just love picking up the cool colors, and I recommend y'all do that sometime. And it's really cool to pick up the ones connecting to each other. I have a Google document to keep track of it all, and it's just really fun to see. So go and grow that comic collection, and have a fun time. And who cares if it's in the middle of the storyline? Be confused and have fun. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I didn't upload last week. I think I'm just gonna try to upload bi-weekly and see what happens. I was doing my best not to beat myself up over it, but realistically, I don't think I can do weekly uploads, and that's okay. You know the drill. My links are down below in the description, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye!